Tony, in the Yarra Valley Water case study, reference is made to changes in culture being an essential component of the overall change process. What was wrong with or misaligned within the initial culture at Yarra Valley Water, and how did you modify it to help the organisation achieve its change goals?
Well, I'm happy to answer that question, but I think you okay if I talk about general feelings about culture first
certainly.
and how that fits in? There's a very famous quotation from Peter Drucker. He said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And we believe that. And I think culture is one of the hardest things to replicate by anybody. So it can be a competitive advantage, a serious competitive advantage. So we've recognised that, and we put a lot of effort into culture. But the thing that we've also recognised that culture without any purpose is not sustainable. It has to have an end outcome. And for us, it's been the achievement of our strategy. And we put a huge amount of effort into defining what this organisation stands for and what it's trying to achieve over a period of time. And then the culture really complements that. It helps us build the capabilities, to enable us to achieve our strategic outcomes. And it really is focused on, achievement of the stretch goals that we've buried in our strategy. So it's very, very important to us. The culture and strategy go hand in hand. Now, when I first came to the job, and I was part of the organisation prior to becoming managing director, so I was, I knew all about the organisation. It wasn't like I came in from outside. But it was clear at that stage that we didn't really have the full trust of management, didn't really have the full trust of staff. It was a very hierarchical organisation. Most of the innovation came from the top and was fed down. People, if they made mistakes, they knew they'd made a mistake. So it got to the stage where people were avoiding taking responsibility. For fear of, losing face or whatever. And also they would hide behind the rules and regulations, if you like, to either avoid taking responsibility or to avoid being innovative. Inside the organisation too, it was quite a competitive place. So different departments would compete against each other for budget, for instance. So, it was quite political inside as well. So a lot of the energy in the organisation was internally focused at, this internal competition, whereas we should have been focused outside, looking at what our customers want, what impact we're having on the environment, how can we deliver better returns to our shareholder, etc. How can we create a more constructive, productive environment, enjoyable environment for our staff to work in. So we set about, looking at this whole issue of culture, understanding that we needed to get that as right as our strategy. We looked at a number of models. The model that we settled on is one that's produced by the Human Synergistics Organisation, which comes out of the US. My HR director tells me it's a very well-researched organisation. So I had faith in her, and then I have the faith in the model. We like the model too because it's full of statistics. And we've got an organisation full of engineers and accountants, who want to see the numbers. So when we run the surveys associated with this model, we had all the numbers there. We had the comparisons between ourselves and the rest of the world that were included in the benchmark. That was terrific. That was really good information for us to compare ourselves. We also did in that process, we also looked at what we thought would be an ideal organisation to work in. So that became a benchmark, as well as the better organisations that were contained in the Human Synergistics benchmark. So we had lots to compare ourselves against. And lo and behold, when we ran the first survey, we were a long, long way back. So it reinforced the view that, we were very competitive internally. We had very perfectionistic tendencies, we were very fastidious about the detail when sometimes it didn't really matter. There was a lot of avoidance going on, a lot of passive resistance. And the more constructive behaviours like, setting and achieving stretch goals, caring for each other, supporting each other, the coaching in the organisation wasn't that strong. So those more constructive behaviours were almost absent. So we set about a target for our culture. We were coming from a long way back. The benchmark told us that there were organisations that were doing very, very well. And we set ourselves some 5-year targets. We just started to put in place a whole bunch of programs which were basically designed to increase the level of trust between management and staff, break down those barriers, to give people more autonomy, to give them more rope, if you like, but also allied with that to give them a strategy. And the strategy was pretty high level, but we left it up to them to work out the how. So we defined the what, they got to define the how. And over time, they developed, they surprised me at some of the hows that they came up with. And as a consequence of that, I'm very, very pleased where we are at the moment. Our 2013 strategy is only a year away now, but I'm very confident that we're going to meet the vast majority of the stretch targets that were established in that more than 5 years ago.